crocheters. I can officially call you that now, right? I'm so proud of you for making it this far. We are on lesson 5 now, and in this video we're going to be learning a new stitch. Yay! So you've learned how to single crochet, which I have done in this swatch up until now. And today we're going to learn how to do this stitch. It is called a double crochet because you kind of do like double the work as you do a single crochet. I don't know. It's very important to note that in the UK crochet terms, it is going to be different. I am teaching you the US crochet terms in this series, so please keep that in mind if you're looking at a pattern, you're trying to read it. Most patterns will tell you if it is a US term pattern or a UK term pattern. So this is a US double crochet that we're going to be learning how to do today. I'm doing it in an opposing color of yarn so that you can see the difference in the fabric and see where the single crochets end and the double crochets start. So I've already done a few on this row. Either you can continue on your single crochet swatch or you can make a brand new swatch, whatever you choose to do. If you make a brand new swatch, you're going to have to chain and then just do exactly what you did with starting off single crocheting into that chain, but do a double crochet. Or you can add on to this single crochet swatch, and I'll pull it back and show you how to do that. So let's say you have your new piece of yarn. I'll show you exactly how to attach a new piece of yarn later. So to start off double crocheting, it is very easy if you already know how to single crochet. So make sure you're good with the single crochet. All that's different, it's very easy, is you yarn over before you stick your hook through. So you yarn over first. Then you stick your hook into the stitch. Then you yarn over, pull up a loop. So you should have 3 loops on your hook at this point. Then you're going to yarn over, pull through only the first 2. Be careful, only the first 2. And then you yarn over and pull through the remaining 2. And you've done your first double crochet. So you're going to continue to do that. I'm just going to leave this end off to the side. You're going to continue to do that, yarn over, stick your hook into the next stitch, okay, then yarn over again, pull up a loop, and at this point you're going to have 3, and it should look like this on your hook. Then you're going to yarn over, pull through the first 2, and be careful not to pull in between the plies of yarn. Yarn over and pull through the second 2. And you've done another tongue twister, another double crochet. Say it 10 times fast. And then you just keep going that way. Yarn over, put your hook in, yarn over, pull up a loop. You should have 3. Yarn over, pull through the first 2, and then yarn over, pull through the remaining 2. So the only difference, when you single crochet, you just stick your hook straight into the stitch and then yarn over and pull up a loop and pull through 2. That is the only difference. And there's a height difference in the stitches. So as you can see, I just did a single crochet right there. There's a height difference. A double crochet is twice as tall as the single crochet. It just simply has a different look. That's it. When you work up a fabric, it's just going to look different the way that the yarn is woven together. And it is taller. So oftentimes people like double crochet because it actually makes your fabric grow quicker, because for each like stitch that you make, it's twice as tall, and so it's gonna do like an extra tall row, and so your fabric just feels like it's growing faster and it's more instant gratification. So just to continue this, I want you to do the same thing you did with single crochet and just get the muscle memory down and just do that repetition. Yarn over, stick the hook into the stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through the first 2, yarn over, pull through the second 2. And that's really it. And you've done a completely different stitch. So I'm going to keep going until the end of the row. and show you how to actually turn when you're doing double crochet, because it's a little bit different. Since they're taller, the way that you turn so that you have a nice square swatch is going to be a little bit different than you did with single crochet. So remember, yarn over first, stick the hook in, yarn over, pull up a loop, pull through only the first two, and then you'll have two left, yarn over, and pull through the remaining two. Now, make sure that you're still yarning over. In a future video, I'm going to show you the difference it makes when you yarn under and you grab the yarn that way, because that is actually a technique to make your stitches look a little bit different. But for this purpose and for most of your basic stitches, you're going to want to yarn over. So your yarn is always going to go from the back to the front, back towards you. Yarn over, stick the hook in the stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through the first two, yarn over, pull through the second two. Now, if you're having trouble, if you get to this point and you're like trying to pull through the first two and then you keep like pulling through all three and it's really hard and you're like, like trying to pull through and it's just hard, I'm going to take a guess that your tension's too tight. Check your tension, guys. If you're a beginner crocheter, chances are you're going to be stressed, you're going to be tense, you're going to be pulling the yarn tight because you feel like that's how it should be, right? To make a tight, nice piece of work, you're going to have to like keep pulling it. Just relax. Take a deep breath. Relax. Crocheting is relaxing. It's healing for the mind. Just relax and ease your tension. And if your tension is correct, it's not going to be hard just to pull through those first two loops. Like you should be able to easily just pull through the first two, yarn over, pull through the second two. So we're coming up on the end of this row. So you want to go all the way to the end. Make sure you don't forget this stitch. A common problem I see with beginners when they're working up a piece of fabric is like their fabric goes wonky and it starts off like a certain width and then it'll go like smaller and then it'll get bigger and smaller and bigger and it's just like wonky. There's a couple reasons this could be happening. Number one, tension. Your tension is not staying the same throughout your work. Also, you can see my work is curling. That's because my tension is pretty like tight. That's like even for, I'm not a beginner, but my tension, it just happens to be kind of tight. A little curling is okay. You can, what you call, block that out. Blocking is after you make an item and you wet it and you lay it out flat to dry, or you use pins and you block it out. Crocheted fabrics can be blocked. So a little curling like this is fine. It'll work its way out once the fabric gets like a little bit more used and stretched out. I don't know. Do you know what I'm trying to do? I don't know what this move is. Okay, whatever. The second reason I find that people's work goes all wonky and doesn't stay the same width is because they're not keeping the same stitch count. They're losing stitches or they're adding an extra one somewhere. So make sure there's only one in each of the stitches, and make sure when you come up on the end, this corner right here, that is the last stitch. Don't forget that. Sometimes it can kind of look like the end. You still, and it's a little bit harder to go into that one as well. You still need to go into that stitch, okay? And it is very important, especially as a beginner who just doesn't really have the eye for if it looks correct or not. You need to go back and you need to count and make sure you have the right amount in your row. This is going to save you a lot of headache later on when you're making a scarf or whatever, and then you look back and you're like, what the heck? Why is it going like this? Or why is it shrinking? That's because you're losing a stitch somewhere or you're gaining one somewhere and adding an extra one. So it's so important to go back through and count, which I'm going to go ahead and do just to make sure. And when you're counting double crochets, you count each of these posts. That's what this is called. It's a post, this line right here. So you count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. So I have the correct amount of stitches. So as long as each row you're continuing to have the correct amount of stitches and you're trying the best you can to keep the same tension, your work is going to be fairly straight. Even mine is going to like fluctuate a little bit. Again, this can be fixed in blocking and also it's just a piece of fabric. That's how it is. That's how it works. It's handmade. It's going to be perfectly imperfect, which is why we love it so much. So hopefully you can see the difference in double crochet versus single crochet and see the difference that makes. So you've gotten to the end and your hook is still in the work inside that loop right there. And you're not going to flip your work yet. It's still going to be facing the same way as it's been. You're going to make 3 chains. So you're going to yarn over, pull through one loop, yarn over, pull through the second loop, and then you're going to yarn over and pull through the third loop. So you have a chain 3 sticking off the end of your work here. After you do that, then you're going to take your work and flip it over so we can go back the other direction. Okay? And then this acts as your first double crochet. So you're going to want to skip the stitch directly underneath it right there. And you're going to want to yarn over and go into the next one. And start your double crochet there. There are different ways to turning. There are more advanced ways that people have invented just to make it look more cleaner and make your edges look more straight. Do not concern yourself with that. This is the way that you should learn as a beginner. It's the most easiest way to remember. When you're turning on a single crochet, you just chain 1. And when you're turning on a double crochet, you're going to chain 3. Just remember that. And as you get more practice, you can learn ways to better your work and make it more clean. So there's different ways that people prefer to turn just to make the edges look different in their work. But for now, you just need to know the basic way. And we can always get more advanced later in the series as we learn more and more. So please just do that. Do exactly what you hopefully did with single crochet. Just go back and forth and you get that practice and you get that feel for how to double crochet. It's really not that much different. So if you've already built the practice and the muscle memory for single crochet, you should be able to easily feel comfortable double crocheting. So hopefully that's something you can pick up a little bit quicker. I've actually made a full scarf just going back and forth double crocheting. I did this during my college lectures, which I don't recommend. Always listen in your lectures. But actually crocheting helped me keep attention. It helped me feel more relaxed and retain the information better. So a project like that is really nice to take for those exact situations where you need something to do with your hand, get out that nervous energy, and still have your brain be relaxed enough to listen, because you're just doing the same thing back and forth. And actually, it's my favorite scarf I've ever made. And all it is double crochet back and forth. And it grows so fast because double crochets, the nature of the stitch is that they're quite tall. And so your work grows fast. So one more time, just to drill it in your head, yarn over, stick into the stitch. That was weird. Stick into the stitch, put your hook into the next stitch. Then you yarn over, pull through the first 2, yarn over, and pull through the second 2. And we've gotten to the end, and I think it would be easy to be like, okay, we're done. There's still a stitch, and it's kind of hanging out on the side right there. And the way to make sure there is a stitch above every one of the posts underneath it, okay? Don't forget this one on the end. That's how your work will start to shrink, because you're losing a stitch each row that you do. Make sure, even though this stitch is kind of being pulled down to the side, that's still a stitch that we need to go into, and this post on the end still needs another one above it. So make sure you don't forget that. It's going to be a little bit harder to go into. You're going to have to use your fingers to kind of slide that stitch over the hook and do your last double crochet. All right, and then just to recap on how to turn, before you flip your work, you chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and then you go ahead and you flip your work over. Okay, and then you continue. Just make sure to skip the stitch at the base of this chain 3, because the chain 3 is counting as a fake double crochet. And if you look on the previous row, it looks different. Like if you look closely, you can tell that that's a chain 3 and not a double crochet. So again, there are more advanced techniques that we'll learn later, but for now, that is all you need to know. So at this point in the video, I am going to go ahead and do a couple more rows of double crochet just so that you can really see the difference in between double crochet and single crochet, and then I'll be right back and show you. All right, so I'm back and I've done a couple more rows of double crochet. Don't worry about this end right here. That's just where I attached the yarn. But just to recap, in the previous lesson, remember when I said when you had an end, make sure you try to weave it into the same color area. So I would take this end, right, and I'm going to, and weave this into the orange part. But just ignore that for now. If you need more help on weaving in ends, check out the previous lesson. So I left it all the way up to here because I want to show you something. It's kind of hard to find where you're supposed to go into. So I was just going to show you where exactly to stick your hook and where to go into. So you do your yarn over, and then you want to go into the third chain. So you can look at this, and it might be twisted around, and you can see 1, 2, 3 chains, because that's what you did. You did chain 3. You're going to want to go into the third chain, and you're going to have to use your fingers to get your hook into that chain. All right, so there should be like 2 pieces of yarn going over it, and just don't be afraid to use your fingers and help guide your hook into that chain. Yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through the first 2, yarn over, pull through the second 2. So please don't forget to go into that last stitch. The second thing I wanted to show you is what happens when you turn this way. So when you finish each of your double crochet rows and you finish by doing a chain 3 to turn, you're going to start to notice in your work that you can kind of point out these little like holes on the end of each row. And it's probably not noticeable to most people, but you might start to notice that. You'll see these little like gaps where it just looks different, and it's not really that noticeable. You just might start to see it and be like, why is it doing that? Well, I'll explain. When you chain 3 and turn that way, it creates that gap because the chain 3 isn't an actual double crochet. It's just you're chaining up to the height of a double crochet and kind of simulating a double crochet. And so that's why the work doesn't look as uniform all the way to the end. There are more advanced ways of turning. You can look those up, or I will teach on that in a future lesson. But for now, this is what it looks like if you do the rows of double crochet, chain 3 to turn, and you continue. So now you can see the difference. This is single crochet right here, and this is double crochet fabric. So you can see the difference in the fabric. You can see that in this single crochet portion, I have 28 rows. In the double crochet portion, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this is just 6 rows right here versus the 28 down here. And so you can really just like see the difference. Double crochet is going to have like more holes in it. Single crochet is not. You're not going to like see through the fabric as you can with double crochet. Double crochet is more drapey. That's another term I'm going to throw at you. So drape is like when you hold the fabric, like how pliable is it? And does it just kind of like drape over your body? So double crochet is nice and flowy and soft and like bendable, whereas single crochet is more like stiff. So, you know, double crochet is potentially better for something like a scarf that you need to drape around yourself, whereas single crochet is better for a pillow or a plushie where you don't want the stuffing to come out because it's a stiffer, thicker fabric. Not thicker, but tighter. That's the word I'm looking for. Those are the differences in single and double crochet. Double crochet grows a lot faster. So like if you're frustrated as a beginning crocheter and you're like, dang, I've spent an hour and I've only made this much fabric, maybe you should try doing some double crochet, and that will motivate you more because double crochet, since it's taller, it grows faster. So yeah, this is just a comparison of what it looks like. It looks completely different, honestly. Like, it just looks visually a little bit different. This is what designers do. They use different stitches and they combine them together. They combine they count how many to do, and that's how you make a pattern. That's how you read a pattern. It just instructs you on what stitches to do and how many of them to do, and it creates the desired look. So far in this series, in the 5 lessons, you've learned how to single crochet and how to double crochet. You've learned how to finish off and weave in your ends. You've even learned how to chain, and of course you learned how to get started and make a slip knot, get that onto your hook. So you've learned quite a bit so far. Make sure you're practicing, getting that muscle memory. Don't feel discouraged if it still feels foreign on your hands. Just like with anything, any like sport or playing the guitar, you got to practice and make your muscles like comfortable with the movement. It's a new foreign movement on your body. So you have to practice and give yourself time. I do want to take this point to point out that we do have a community Discord. I am a streamer on Twitch at twitch.tv/Municorny. I stream video games and I crochet things that relate to video games. So I am a very crafty and creative gamer. So if that sounds up your alley, we'd love to have you join in our live streams. But I did want to point out in this lesson, if you're watching this and you just want a community of support and you want a place to go and ask for help, ask questions, share pictures of what you're making, and just get excited about crochet, we have a Discord, which is a series of chat rooms in an application, and we have a specific chat room for creative objects and creative activities. So a lot of us like to crochet, so we share the things we're making. And I wanted to point that out because don't be afraid to ask for help and ask questions. If you are stuck in any way, if you feel frustrated, even if you just want to share your progress and get excited about that, don't be afraid to reach out and join. I will leave the link in the description below. We would love to have you. Like I said, we're a community of like crafty and creative gamers. So if that sounds like you, come join us, come make some friends. We'd love to have you. In the next lesson, we're going to continue this theme of learning new stitches, and we're going to learn how to half double crochet, which is actually shorter than a double crochet. That's what we're going to learn next, so stay tuned for that.